Hey everyone, in this video we're going to use AI and see how we can learn a new programming language using the help of AI and learn, I wouldn't call it faster, but learn in more practical ways rather than just doing tutorials on string for loops on basic and just getting stuck with tutorial. We're just going to jump right into Excel file and just get Grok to write us a script, and then we go through the script and inspect. So let's just jump right in. So what we have here is I have this Excel file, Google Sheets, which I'm going to download as Excel file, and so this format, and then we're going to ask Grok to write a script to read and print Excel file for sheet named, what's the name of the sheet? Budget request, budget request. And what I'm going to ask is do not write any functions, just a plain long ass boring script. Okay, so let's just ask for that because I don't want anything fancy because the goal here is to learn. Okay, so we're going to copy this and we're going to do a new project and then go budget management. Okay, and then if you do pure Python and just do virtual environment and all that, so it's going to have Python, whatever Python you have on your computer. So if you don't have PyCharm, so you need to install that or any IDE that you like. And then once we have that, so we're just going to create a new file here called budgetmanagement.py, and then we're going to just paste that script. Now, before we run this script, there are a couple of things we need to do, which Grok must have told us. Actually, Grok did say something. Here's a long, straightforward Python and budget request using pandas. And the script, okay. Yeah. So how do I know how to, but how do I install pandas? I have no clue. Okay, so open your terminal, blah, 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 Python version. Okay, pip install pandas, and we're just going to do that. And then open terminal here in PyCharm and pip install pandas. All right, we have pandas installed, and now let's just read this code here. So if I double click here, it will go full screen. So we're importing this package pandas, and it's always imported as PD, just a best practice that we follow. And we have the file name for the Excel file, file path. So what we got to do is we got to move our from download, this one here, over to budget management, and then it will say refactor. So we just moves the file here, and I'm going to copy this name, and there we go. We put the full path for the file over here. Okay, so we've imported the package. We have defined the name. So this is just a variable. So process automation.xls. So we've defined the name of the file, and we have Excel file variable here. And the way that variable works is we call, so we're using pandas package here. That's basically someone has written a function in that package for us. It's called Excel file. It's usually when you are referring to a package like that, and then this here may not be a function. It could look like a function call. It eventually ends up being a function, but we'll dig deep into that later on. But for now, all you have to understand is we are reading this file path using this feature from pandas, and then we're getting that file into this Excel file variable. So this Excel file variable is basically referring to that object. I'm going to attempt to explain this again because I want to be very clear on this variable referencing. So we are reading this Excel file exists here using its name, and this Excel file variable will reference this object, which is basically the file in the memory. So this Excel file refers to a memory location where this file will be stored using pandas, right? And then we have sheet names. Basically what we're doing is we're referring to that object again and saying, hey, give me the sheet names that you have there. And our target sheet name based on the script, that the prompt that I gave to Grok is the budget request, right? So we ask for that here. So budget request. And then what's happening here is basically we have simple if statement. If target sheet is in sheet names, so sheet names here is a list of names. So what we can do, this is a superpower in any programming language. So we're going to use a debugger, and we're going to run this code now. So what we'll do, Python and budget management.py. So once we run that, what should really happen is the code execution will freeze in this breakpoint, right? Use pip or conda to install OpenPyXL. Okay, so that is basically another package that we need to run this. So what's happening here is pandas is using another package called OpenPyXL, which primarily works with the Excel file in Python. So Panda relies on that package as well, right? So we're going to install that OpenPyXL, and then we're going to now have so now we're going to, run that code again. I kind of forgot where I was. So now we are basically freezing the execution at this point of the code, right? So Python is going through each line and executing this code. And here in if target sheet in sheet names, just before that line, so that is our next line. So that is important to understand. So now let's look at what's in the sheet names, right? Because we said the if method here is checking target sheet in sheet name. So it's checking if budget request is inside this sheet names. So how does Python check that? Let's check sheet names. So you can see here we have multiple sheet names. So budget request, budget limit, users. So basically we have a thing in Python where if you check with this in, so if I check does the word the in sheet names, does it exist? False, right? So now we're going to change that and then do users. So it's true, right? So basically this is a way to check if something exists inside the list, right? And how do I know it's a list? I mean, it looks like a list. And then if I do sheet names, so it quacks like a list as well, right? If you know where I'm going with that. So that's how you know if what something is in Python. Basically that's what you can do. So if I here do type PD, so it tells me that the pandas PD is a type module, right? So you can inspect anything. What is the type of that? So that's basically what's happening here. We're checking if this sheet we're requesting is in the sheet name, and then if that is, then we're reading the sheet, right? So if I just go next, then you can see, so the next line is the data frame, this line, and we're using pandas package and read Excel, and then we're reading using the file path again, and then sheet name and target sheet, right? So now I'm not too familiar with pandas that much because I haven't done this type of Excel file reading project for a while, so I'm not sure what the big difference is there, which we can deep dive into and understand, but I think that's just not that's not where we want to go. We just want to stick with the basics right now. So PD read Excel, we're giving the file path, we're giving the name. So I think with this method here, we are reading a specific sheet rather than reading the entire file, right? So I'm sure we could have got a sheet directly from here as well, but it's okay. Grok gave us this, so we're going to use it. Now what it's doing here is in dataframe.shape.0, we are getting the rows, right? So we can again type that here directly and see what's going on there. So let's do next. We have the data frame. So what is the data frame? Let's do type of data frame, right? Data frame. Okay, data frame is one word. Sorry, I'm going frame. And you can see it's an instance of a class data frame, and we'll get into all that details later. So now if I go next, let's see what's in the rows. So rows is 4, and what's in the columns? Columns is not executed yet. Okay, so we have four rows and 12 columns. So let's go on budget sheet request. We have 1 0 1 2 3 4 and then 12 columns up to L. Okay, and then if we just go, so you can see here, right, the list here, column names, data frame dot column to list. So we're getting list of column names, and then we are printing bunch of things here. So let's execute next line. So n is to next line when you're inside the PDB, right? So Python debugger is basically giving you a way to execute each line of code and understand what's going on there, right? So next, and then when I run that, it will print something on the console. So right now we're seeing the entire statement. So now it printed here, Excel file loaded successfully. And then we can keep doing that. You can see number of rows 4, number of columns 12s, and then column header. And then now what it's doing, it's using a for loop, right? So the for loop is basically a way of iterating over anything that can be iterated on. So for example, list, or could be a query result from the database, anything that has many items inside. It is in Python it's called iterable, so you can iterate through it. You can use that, right? So if we do type of column names again, let's see what that is. So it's an instance of a list, and list is a iterable, right? So you can iterate through it, and then that's what we're doing here. And if I just do continue here, because there's a lot of things that's going on in the for loop, we can just go next and see. It basically went through all column names, and then what did it do? For I in range, rows, row data, J, cell value. Basically, it's going through each cell value and column name and building this list here. And then PD is NA, PD, print target sheet, not found, print sheet. Let's just see. So here, see this row data, that's where we are appending all the values. Now, what I encourage you to do is, if you really want to understand what's going on, you can go through, put a breakpoint here. Let's just do it right now. So let's run it. And you can see here, if I go next, so here right now, if I go next, the row data should be empty. It's not even defined at the moment because we are on the first breakpoint, which I haven't got rid of. Okay, so let's just do next. So when I did continue, it basically continued from this breakpoint until there's another breakpoint in the code, if there is one. So now it came to this breakpoint, and we're going to go. So this preview here is your next line. It's not executed yet. So if I do row data, it's going to say not found, not defined, right? And if I do next, now row data is defined, it should be empty. And what is row data again? You should know that by now. Type of row data is, it's a Python list, right? That's how you know. And also you can see here it's defined as a list. So now if we go next, let's just go continue again, because the breakpoint is in for loop. We're going to go here and then come back up here. So let's just see that in action again. So next, so we have cell value. So we are here. So we're reading from a data frame. We have a iloc. So we're using row and like a row and column number to get to the cell, kind of like a cell reference in Excel. So And then, so if you look at I and J, so it's 0 and 0. So we're reading what's in cell value 0, cell 0, 0, right? Or in Excel way 0A, A0 or something like that. So now let's go next. You can see we're basically executing everything. So, and we're going through all this. Now we're back up here because we are looping through this list, right? Now once we do that, we should have something in our raw data if there was something. Okay, there we go. So we have TR001. If we look back on this file, you can see we've read a value from this part here. And now why not this? Because Pandas knows what a header is in an Excel file. So Panda takes that as a header file, right? So that's why we're reading from the second one. Now if I just do continue again, we'll come back to this for loop, right? And you can see if I do raw data again, so it has more information now, right? And then at some point, what is going to happen is it's going to join raw data here, which we can dig into later. But for now, you understand what's going on. You have the breakpoint sorted, and there's a trick in for loop. You can keep continuing on a for loop because you have to quit otherwise, because if you keep hitting continue, you're just gonna come back to this breakpoint. So the way to get out of that is you can do pdb. I don't know that will work because we use, but it should work. Pdb set trace equals to lambda none. So basically setting that to none. We don't have pdb. And then let's do that. And I don't know if this will work. Let's try it again. And then pdb set trace. It should work because I mean essentially it's using that. It is a work. So there we go. That's how you get out of for loop, and you can also ask Grok. So basically, you've now learned like how to read an Excel file and play with this. And the idea is not write any function, anything, and just understand how code executes from this line here up to this line here, right? And we're closing a file over here. So I will continue on the next video. I just want to keep these videos short. I'll see you in the next one.